Well, a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Banbury for day 2 of the Belief Elite National Touch Series. This is round number 1, and this is where we get into the nitty-gritty. This is where medals are won, trophies are won or lost, and we've got plenty of games coming up for you throughout the day. 9 in total will be live streamed from pitch number 1. And we'll be ranging from the Premiership, the Elite and Championship categories throughout the day. But just a reminder of the teams that did make it into the Elite Cup and Plate competition. So the Bareback Riders, Nottingham Hoods, Exeter, Cambridge Hornets, Wigan, CSSC1, Hot Custard and Oxford Touch. And in the Premiership Cup and Plate, Thames Valley, London Galaxy, Crewe and Natwich, Chester Cheetahs, CCSC 2, Galaxy Knights, G-Force Guildford and Cambridge Bees. So plenty of action to come throughout the day. And we're going to start off with a Premiership quarter-final between Thames Valley Vikings and Cambridge Bees. It should be a thrilling encounter. So our first game will be on pitch number 1 from the Premiership quarter-final. Thames Valley Vikings against Cambridge Bees. And I am delighted to say this morning I am joined with Chris Wearmouth from England Touch. Chris, what an opening day we had, and now we get into the more serious stuff.
Yeah, I think we had a really good day yesterday, didn't we, Brad? There were a couple of blowouts, to be sure, but there were some really competitive games as well. Cambridge Bees being involved in one of them. And against Galaxy Knights, we only went down to one touchdown yesterday, and Vikings being involved. Well, Vikings were involved in one of the last games of the day against Exeter Raptors, and they were. I was going to say, if there is a team of day one, I think Exeter will be right up there, given how at the start of the day we saw them be competitive for the first half against Wigan and then get comfortably beaten in the second half. But by the end of the day, they were very, very good, and they really saw Vikings off very well. So today, going into the cups and the knockout competitions, it's the point where you see the pressure really start to come on, and this game's going to be really intriguing. Cambridge stepping up from yesterday's Premiership pool, and Vikings stepping down from yesterday's Elite pools.
And just, Chris, just briefly sort of go through a couple of the things in terms of like where you finished, obviously in the tables. Where does that place you? And if you lose your quarter-final in the Elite Club, where do you go on to next?
Well, basically, everybody's got something to play for today, and so yesterday in the Elite competition, every team from Pool A played every team from Pool C, so that you were judged by your records against the same competition. If people are familiar with the old Anglo-Welsh Cup in rugby union, it's very similar. In fact, it's identical to how that operated, and the maths are equally complicated. But anyway, the teams then get ranked. So the first and second place teams in the Elite Cup, in the Elite pools, go through to the Elite Cup quarterfinals, and we've got them coming up at 9:55. The third place teams and then join the Premiership pool in the Premiership Cup. Now the Premiership, how the quarterfinals are worked out from that is that the Premiership pool played round robin yesterday to work out their rankings. So that's how it's all done, basically. And so if you win your quarterfinal, you stay in the cup competition. If you lose the quarterfinal, you go into the plate competition. So there's 5 trophies to play for today. So the Elite Cup, the Elite Plate, the Premiership Cup, the Premiership Plate, and then there's the Championship as well. They're finishing off their round robin today with 2 more round robin matches, and then they have a placing match. So first will play second to decide who wins. That's just how it is in touch, and you see that quite a lot in terms of placing matches. So it was at the World Cup recently, and one of the categories with 6 teams in it, so it's very similar to that. So I hope at home we'll be sending your exam sheets through the post.
No, certainly it can be quite complicated if you've never seen the format before, but we'll guide you through the day and we'll make sure you're up to date of everything.
Isn't it ironic that such an easy sport to pick up and play that's the most complicated?
I think that makes it more fun, in my opinion.
Yes.
But also, could you just explain to us how the extra time works as well, which I think is very interesting?
Yes, extra time drop-off. This is the first time you'll have seen it, Brad. It's and we may very well get this in this game, in this first game that we're seeing. So if the teams are tied at full time, is that you then go into extra time, and it's not quite sudden death. The 6 players drop down to 5, so you lose. Basically, the players can opt to lose either one of their male or one of their female players. They'll pretty much choose to take off one of their female players to start off with, to go down to 5 aside. You then play 2 minutes of 5 aside. If the scores are still level after 2 minutes, you then drop down to 4 players, and then if after a further 2 minutes, you then drop down to 3, and then basically you play till you drop. Hopefully it won't go through to that much, although there was one of the games last year, Hot Custard against Wigan in the men's elite competition final in Canterbury, had about an extra 7 or 8 minutes, something like that. It was a spectacular game, but it was quality as well. And basically you get the chance to respond. So if the team, in this situation, if Vikings tap off at the start of extra time, they will. If they score, then Cambridge will then have the chance to respond. And then if Cambridge scores, then Vikings get the chance. Now, if the teams keep on scoring and you get a shootout, then play just carries on until somebody doesn't score, essentially. So there you go. We'll go into more intricacies about the drop-off as and when we are. But like I say, is that this one could very easily go into that. The next game, I'm not so sure. BBR against Oxford. Oxford fresh into this level of the competition against BBR, who are one of the pre-tournament's favourites. And then after that, it could be anybody's guess as to what comes after that.
No, certainly we're in for a fascinating day here in Banbury. I'm expecting twists and turns, lots of drama, lots of great tries. It's going to be absolutely enthralling stuff. And our opening game, Thames Valley Vikings in blue taking on Cambridge Bees in white. This should be a really intriguing game in the Premiership quarter-final. So as you hear the hooter sound, that is our starting whistle to get the games underway. And here we go on pitch number 1, Thames Valley Vikings against Cambridge Bees in our first knockout game of the morning. It's going to be enthralling stuff as we're underway. And Cambridge get us started in this Premiership quarter-final, looking to go through the middle from the offset.
It's got still very much a bit of a Sunday morning feel today, doesn't it? It's in terms of the teams, and an early mistake from Cambridge for that. And I think it is very important that the teams switch on very, very quickly. They do have the opportunity in a 40-minute match like this to really play themselves into the game, and so we'll certainly see quality and the error count improve dramatically. And we've already seen Vikings, that was a bit of a throw to nothing just there, but Vikings already have just gone, from one end of the field to the other. That's exactly what they'd have wanted to do.
Yeah, Kai Andrews involved early on, looking for Lucy Neil Hook. We saw Neil Hook heavily involved in the game that was on pitch 1 yesterday involving Thames Valley Vikings. On the halfway line here with Cambridge, although into the Thames Valley Vikings half, looking to go through the centre, looking to try and create an opening, searching for that first try.
This is a Cambridge team that, although they were in the Premiership pool, is that they still have a big core of experience. John Lovell, number 8, he's the England Women's Open assistant coach, and scored a spectacular try from inside his own half yesterday. Great turn of pace. And young Harry Missin, who's right next to him, plays England age group, and so those two are really, at various ends of the experience spectrum, but they still bring a lot of know-how through to that through the Cambridge midfield. And
here they go on the attack once again. looking to try and break through. Thames Valley Vikings, it's down, but not on this occasion. And looking to work things once again. Brennan involved. Looking out wide for Lauren Torley. And she had quite a few opportunities yesterday. She managed to get a couple of them. But on this occasion, just falls short.
Yeah, Vikings, both teams, what's good to see is that both teams are asking questions of the opposition defence early. They've, after that initial kind of 30 seconds where everybody's a little bit late onto the field, it's a little bit rushed here first thing on a Sunday morning, is, they've really started to ramp it up very, very quickly. We've seen lots of pace coming through the middle from both teams. We're seeing from Cambridge now.
And touch. And that was a great move. And Cambridge off the mark. Going through the centre.
Yeah, Fraser Florence going all the way through. What he's done there is he's taken the when you attack on a scoop like that and picking the ball up from the half and really going as you're attacking the player who is retreating to get onside and hoping to get past them and be able to accelerate past them. That's exactly what he did there. And then at which point, once you get over the goal line, you then need to try and find your support by going to the end of the scoring zone. And that was an absolute textbook try like that. And like I said, is that the teams have come out swinging. Vikings have looked a bit dangerous, but Cambridge just kept their composure and showed a bit of know-how and deservedly opened the scoring.
Kai Andrews looking to burst through, the youngster in the Thames Valley Vikings side wearing the number 19 shirt. Felix Tenbrook, didn't see much of him yesterday, but in the thick of things in the early stages for the Vikings. Although turnover and possession. Here come Cambridge once again. Towards the halfway line. Fraser Florence, who got that try, involved once again. Oliver Exton. And a chance now for Cambridge to get another try on the board. Started brightly. Oliver Exton once again involved, looking to go through the centre again. Oh, and just a fizzed pass to the referee. Looks like he just got in the way a bit there. We saw it yesterday, but that's so on the first game. And just couldn't quite get out of the way on that occasion.
That would have been the ultimate Falcon there, I think, if the referee would have copped it.
And the Vikings looking to start from the back. Kai Andrews with Shu now. Looking to build, looking to get a bit of momentum going. Vikings, here's Andrew again. Quick stuff now, here's Simpson. Saw a lot of him yesterday. Brennan again involved. Andrew now out to Torley, bit of space to run into to the wing.
They're just having a quick conversation. Geordie Bitlock having a conversation with Mike Davis on the sideline and asking, we could hear it from here in the van, as to whether he would stepped out or not, and the answer to that is no, or whether she stepped out, sorry, and the answer to that is no. And that's a fantastic score from Vikings. That's really well created, but it's a more direct score that you would see in other forms of rugby. So it just shows you can score in all ways, but ultimately came down to pace and space, and she exploited that very, very well, did Lauren Torley.
Yeah, she certainly did. Had a few good opportunities yesterday to get on the score sheet, and she managed to get a couple, and now she's got one early in the first half in this Premiership quarter-final. As Cambridge look to respond, looking to go through the middle, once again looking to push out wide, but momentum's gone, and it's now turnover and possession. So the Thames Valley Vikings, they came close against Hot Custard and Crewe and Natwich, and then had a very tough game against Exeter Raptors, which we briefly talked about before the start of the show. Exeter Raptors will be certainly one to watch throughout the day to see how far they will get, a new side in this competition. Here come the Vikings once again. Here's Simpson looking to burst through, looking to create an angle, having to go back. Tenbrook with Simpson now again, looking to go wide, and the pass is loose, and the turnover in possession once again.
This is ramping up into being a really, really good game, isn't it?
It certainly is. The tempo of the game and the intensity. I think these players, after the first couple of minutes, have certainly got into it. It's felt a bit of a slow pace Sunday morning, but they've certainly got into it.
As an older fella, I can appreciate how long it takes to get moving, especially on a Sunday. Some might say I would never even get moving anyway. Certainly not at any pace, but we're seeing both of these teams, as you say, Brad, is that they're ramping up, and we're seeing. I mean, this is proper end-to-end stuff. What we haven't seen yet is the short-paced creativity. We've seen some great hands there, but it'll be when you start seeing the Mexican standoffs and the short-range scores. That's going to be when it'll be very interesting to see.
Yeah, it certainly will be. It's been felt like it's been played after the second minute, 100 miles an hour, and looking to break through again. Torley was on to the right of him of Tenbrook. And now's Matthew Halligan on the first touches we've seen. Kai Andrew, the youngster, involved a lot more this morning, looking to burst through. Andrew there again, and
touched on the way through. Fifth touch. One more play for Vikings. Again, we've seen it from long range. We've seen pace, isn't it? That's what's causing the damage on both sides. And on that time, that's a good touch score, where it's a little bit of just going down the blind side, a very quick scoop from the dummy half. The person who's taken who's placed the roll ball has just stepped over, spotted that there's going to be an opportunity out wide on the wing, and then it's just been exploited. So that's a love. I was just talking about short range tries. That's exactly what we've just seen there.
Certainly, and it was Kai Andrew who supplied the try, and he was quick off the mark as soon as he received it, and Cambridge looking to respond.
Yeah, Cambridge will be disappointed with that, because they obviously, for the fact that they've conceded, but also in terms of the nature of it, is that was just switching off by the winger. That was quite an easy one to defend. That was a decent blind side, but it was only about 3 or 4 metres.
Benson and Exton involved, looking to go out wide. And the chance is missed, and turnover in possession. And our first 10 minutes of action on day 2 has been absolutely superb, to say the least. It's been end-to-end stuff. They've certainly had their Weetabix this morning. Looking to go forward over the 10-metre mark. Simpson involved again. It was Brennan pushing forward, although lost control, and now the turnover. A good opportunity now here for Cambridge.
Yeah, you always want to start a play in the opposition half, and so that was. Vikings. It's far enough out for them to be able to roll back in the defence, but for Cambridge, means that we've got third touch coming up, and they're only 10 metres away from the lines. This is a fantastic opportunity for them.
Exton, the powerhouse in the middle, laying it off, looking to burst forward, and a good dive. And that's the honesty, I'm guessing, we've been talking about yesterday, of the touch there. And now, the slow build-up once again. Benson involved in the middle, and a nice little dummy pass, a little skill move.
And a heavy touch there from the Vikings. I think they're having a bit of a chat from the Vikings middle there. 54 is, you could tell he was having a bit of a chat there, was Tim Simpson. With the referee, but it's a fair enough call, but it gives Cambridge the 6.
It certainly does. Thomas Wells looking to be involved, although handed over. John Lovell, the women's open assistant coach, as we previously mentioned. Harry Missing in the middle for Cambridge, although now turnover in possession, still in deep into their own half, the Vikings, and Kai Andrew's been heavily involved in this opening half, looking to be really influential, supplying the passes. Here's Simpson. Kyandrew again, already has one under his belt. Can he push forward to get another? Simpson again, nice sort of slow build-up, just waiting for the opportunity. Simpson again. Andrew picks it up, back to Simpson, looking for the try line. Nice little pass. And he gives it the referee, a nice move from the back. And that puts the Vikings 3-1 up.
Key player of that is the Vikings 8, Felix Tenbrook, because what he's done is he's come from the left and he's just worked his way to the right and he's looked a viable option for Cambridge to have to take seriously in defence. So what's then happened is that you could see the Cambridge defence then concertinaing out. So it wasn't as though they could move as a unit. They then left the space, and at which point then when it got round into the link channel, the winger then cut in a little bit to try and shut that down, and then there was a space for the winger to score. So that's a lovely worked try there.
And it was Becky Anderson who finished it off, and looking to reply straight away. And again, another opportunity goes begging for Cambridge on the left-hand side. It seems to be all coming down that from the middle to the left, and they just can't seem to execute it.
Yeah, I think from Cambridge's perspective, they, as Vikings concede a penalty, I think for overstepping the mark. You've got to play the ball you've got to roll the ball where you get touched, or within very close to that. Is that from Cambridge's perspective, they seem to not have recovered from the Vikings second. It's rocked them back a little bit.
It certainly looks like it, and looking to try and push towards that left-hand corner once again. Emma Goffin looking to try and find a try for herself and her team. Opting to go through the middle once again, and a loose pass. This time by Fraser Florence, who did all the good work to get Cambridge their try early on. Nice build up again. Kyandrew in the thick of things, but coming off now.
And it's another opportunity for Cambridge. This is the thing where they've had a couple of sets of six close to the Vikings line and just haven't been able to make it count. And what they've got on now is John Lovell. You can see him orchestrating what's happening around him. So he's going to be the... And there you go. That's the experience from him there, is that what he's done is he is a viable option of to be dangerous. So you see that there's the supporting, so he's the middle, you've got the supporting runner on his right, which is Oliver Exton, and then you see all of a sudden the Vikings defence has compressed, which then leaves a bit more space on Lovell's left, which he's then just exploited with a bit of a pass. And again, a lovely work score. Said 30 seconds ago that his experience was going to be important. There you go.
No, certainly, as it was Logan MacDonald who finished off the good work from John Lovell. And Kyandrew hasn't obviously got the experience of John Lovell, but certainly playing a key part in this Vikings side. Nice little layoff. Can they go out wide again? And it's a nice move. Waiting for the referee's confirmation. It is, and it is. Lauren Torley once again looking at that build-up. A superb pass with pace and straight through for Lauren Torley. And that 2-point advantage.
That was a nice pass, but unfortunately that one's down to the Cambridge winger, the Emma Goffin, because that's the thing where she's not trusting the people on the inside. Now it's the one thing where as a coach or as a player you go in a game, you think, okay, so by a long pass, if they beat us with a long pass in the middle, then and they go around you, that's, you can live with that because it's a great amount of skill. There was that, but it's easier to defend because the Vikings player was just running to his right. So actually he's compressing his own space. So if you're just looking up going, okay, so mid's got mid, link's got link, I've got the winger just out there, just all she had to do is just to step out, 1.5 meters, and she makes the touch, and that's no score.
So as we're edging closer towards half time, so Around about 3 minutes until we hear that hooter, and these are the crucial moments just before half-time. If Cambridge could just get a try going into the interval, that will give them a bit of a boost and close the gap. But on the opposite side, if Vikings can get another one, a 3-point advantage going into the break would be absolutely superb. And here they come once again on the left-hand side. Hopton's go a bit more centrally now. Good build-up, quick tempo to their play.
Yeah, it's impressive that, isn't it? I mean, they're just running direct. There's nothing spectacular about it until they get to the need where they need to do that. And, you know, we've seen them score some nicely worked touchdowns. That's another lovely little bit of touch play where you see that the person who comes in off the scoop there, Felix Tenbrook, he attacks the straight line and then he deviates, then he just steps off it a little bit. What the defender can't do is go with him, because then you concede a penalty for what's called deviation. Then when you step out, the link then has to come. You then need to have another defender coming in to cover, which then has left the space for the scorer there. So that's a lovely little piece of subtle play. What we'll do is later on, especially with the likes of Wigan and Bareback Riders, we'll see that an awful lot later. Exactly the same thing.
Well, Matthew Halligan finishing it off, getting his name on the score sheet, and that 3-point advantage as Cambridge look to try and respond straight away. The referee says no.
So you see how the Vikings defenders have got one foot in front of the other on this one. That's what they're doing, is they're protecting their outside on that. So what you're doing is you're trusting the player who's immediately, so the lad with the baseball cap who's just on the 5-metre line. He was facing out towards the touchline that was closest to him. So he's got the back of the winger, and his back has been covered by the middle in the middle, who's facing the same way. So basically all you're looking to defend is what's in front of you and then out towards the touchline. And then the people who are on the inside then cover if somebody steps back and comes in. So that's nice coaching from the Vikings coaches. Textbook.
It's certainly working this morning as we are getting ever closer to the half-time break. Of course, a reminder, it will be 5 minutes intervals, am I right in saying,
yeah,
Chris?
Still 5-minute intervals, and today we've got 10 minutes between matches, but that just allows for the possibility of a drop-off and also allows us a little bit more time to get a cup of tea.
Yeah, just pump a bit more caffeine into our bodies for the day. And there is that hooter. So one phase of play left.
I think it was bro touch, wasn't it, that Ben Meakin called it yesterday?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, a bit of bro. Yeah. Bro, just going to throw it about there. Didn't come off there for Cambridge Bees, unfortunately for them. But Vikings, considering how Cambridge opened the scoring and in a very structured way, Vikings, I mean, needless to say, are going to be the happier of the two teams, but especially in terms of how they've responded.
No, certainly they've played really well and been exciting. Good intensity and flow to that first half for the Vikings, and they lead by 5 points to 2 at the break. So the second half will be coming up in around about 5 minutes' time. It's Premiership quarter-final between Thames Valley Vikings and Cambridge Bees.
So the touch is the equivalent of a tackle in rugby union or rugby league. In touch, we get 6 of them to try and score a touchdown. Scoring a touchdown, you have those 6 touches, and the defence are trying to make all 6 to prevent you from scoring. You can also touch clothing, boots, legs, wherever in order to create that touch. You can have such thing as a hard tackle or a hard touch, which is where you put too much force into the touch. A heavy touch can be made by the attacker or the defender as well. The attacker putting too much force on the initiated touch, or the defender putting too much force into the push of the touch. An attacker can either initiate the touch to stop the defence from making it, or the defence can make the touch themselves. The attacker can make the touch to make a better roll ball and to keep the momentum in the attack.
So here we go for the second half of this Premiership quarter-final between Cambridge Bees and Thames Valley Vikings. Cambridge got off to the perfect start, but after that it was Thames Valley Vikings half, and they played some superb stuff, and they get us underway in the second half, looking to build on that lead, looking to push forward towards the try. Here's Simpson once again looking to go out wide to Torley, just couldn't hang on this occasion.
Again, Cambridge, Aisling Musgrove, Cambridge's winger there, defending very, very tight, which we saw Vikings exploit a couple of times in the first half. The other thing as well, just at the start of that second half, was John Lovell, number 8, was having a lots of chat to the people around him, just in terms of what he's going to want them to do when they come onto the field. As we see, the subs coming on straight away. So they've run one defensive set and they're just coming on to attack.
Looking to burst forward here. Looking for an option there is John Lovell. And a good start to this second half for Cambridge.
It's exactly how they scored in the first half. They've gone through on the scoop from the half very, very quickly. The acceleration into the clear coming from Thomas Wells. And then John Lovell, all he's done is he's just tracked up in support, stayed on or around the goal line, and then made sure that he's got to obviously put the ball down very quickly, but the pass is low enough for him to do that as well. So, textbook try there from Cambridge. Exactly what they wanted. They defended the first set after Vikings tap off. They've gone up the other end and scored. And, and a nice boost for them. But Vikings, if they can carry on with the pace that they played at in the first half, I think they'll be pretty good. And we're seeing that again coming through from
Simpson through the middle. Yeah, he was heavily involved in the game we saw yesterday, and once again, look at that, just sheer burst of acceleration powering through.
That's the second time he's done that. The first one obviously didn't because it was dropped by the winger. But that's the second time where he's come onto the ball from deep at pace. So he might not have the immediate acceleration, but he's giving himself enough time to do that. And they are using that as a deliberate tactic to ask questions of the Cambridge defence, to get past those runners who are still in an offside, or those defenders who are still in an offside position, and to go through and to create the scores.
So here we go, starting in. Harry Misson picking up on the 10 metre. Now John Lovell. Can he inspire his team back into the game? Here's Harry Misson again, looking to burst through. John Lovell again, looking out wide. And an instant reply.
So that's exactly the same thing. That you're attacking the players who are not onside. And that's where we saw about Misson there earlier. I was talking about him having age group experience. What's happened is that because the Vikings defenders in the middle are offside, you have to come in as an outside defender to try and make the touch, especially when the Cambridge player can score. So the half can't score, but if he's received the ball, which Misson did in that situation, he could. So the defenders out wide have got to come in and shut it to try and make the touch, which then leaves space outside to exploit. Of course, you then need the hands to be able to do that. He did, and Lovell did with the pass, but that's another good bit of focused attacking of what they knew they wanted to do there.
Halligan shoot, and Brennan all involved in this build-up, and a dive from Victoria shoot. And now they restore their 3-point advantage once again. 3.5 minutes. And already plenty of tries and plenty of action, and after losing their 3-point advantage, regain it in a matter of seconds.
Was that the 4th touchdown of the first 4 minutes of the second half?
Absolutely bonkers.
I thought, so much for the Commodores and easy like Sunday morning. This one's definitely turning into speed demons.
I think we're going to need that cup of tea, aren't we, really?
We're definitely going to need that cup of tea. I know what I'm going to be doing for the crew after full time.
And here come Cambridge once again, looking to go through the centre.
The good thing is that they're scoring with good. They are well created. It's not as though anything's breaking down. All the scores are well created.
Yeah, they certainly are. John Lovell and Oliver Exton in the middle here.
See, on that one, there's good patience there from the Vikings defenders. And Cambridge, why people would have, if you're watching Touch for the first time and you're thinking, why is he walking backwards? Essentially, when you're that close to the opposition scoreline, so the dash there we can see is 5 metres out. when you're that close, the opposition have to go back 5 metres, but as a referee, if the touch is made 6 or 7 metres out, then you're still going to call them back to the goal line, because it's an easy way of calling the offside. So all you do is you create yourself that little bit more space and then attack into it. And that's what he was trying to do there. What Vikings did really, really well was anticipate what was about to come and to shut it down. So good play all round.
Yeah, good game management from the Vikings, and Cambridge looking to try and force the initiative, looking to try and find a route back into this quarter-final.
That's a penalty for overstepping the mark there for Cambridge. What he's done is he's taken the touch first and then carried on with the touch on the play. The touch doesn't have to be the defender, can be the attacker as well. So we saw a Cambridge player have the ball in his right hand, and on his left he had it out to make the touch, and what he did is he kind of rolled the defender, kept the touch all the way through, and made and placed the ball about 2 metres past where he made the initial touch, which is why he was done for overstepping.
And looking to go through the middle once again, Matthew Halligan involved. Manages to just cling on Victoria's shoe now.
I don't think that was intended for him, but he did really well.
He certainly did, and his shoe once again through the centre, and a good dive.
But that's 6 touch just on the way down. No complaints from Victoria Chew either.
And we did talk about yesterday, it is just a game of honesty in a sense, in terms of the touches. And sometimes the referees can't always see it.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that's the most frustrating thing for a player, is when somebody calls touch and you know that there isn't. That's going to be, I'm surprised, that's going to be given as a hard touch by the attacker there. Again, it's not just about the defender making the touch or the hard touch. As you see, what happened there is that John led in with his shoulder a little bit, didn't lead in with his arm, so there was no spring there, and there was nothing that the defender could do apart from go flying.
Is that maybe just a sense of frustration, maybe, John Lovell, or is it just?
I think it's just a slip.
No.
He's very good at staying calm, is John.
And Vikings look to come again. Simpson, Andrew looking to burst through. Just waiting for the signal, and well, Guy Andrews, a nice little dummy. Straight through. He's very nimble. He almost just sort of guided, he just sort of weaved his way through.
Misson's really disappointed with himself that he bought that, but it's one of those things, somebody sells a dummy again, you take it. That is a part of any kind of rugby. It happens.
And a 4 points advantage is now built for the Vikings. Can they reply? Oliver Exton. And lays it off and looking to push forward.
So again, we see Vikings who are defending with one shoulder in front of the other, just to try and force where they want Cambridge to go. We'll see, is this a touch and that's a touch and pass. Sorry, 6 touch is what they've done as opposed to a touch and pass, but good shutting down by Vikings. I think that's what's impressed me the most, has been that how they have defended what Cambridge have thrown at them, because this Cambridge Bees outfits are no mugs.
So yeah, yesterday they did come close against Hot Custard and Crewe and Natwich in the elite pool games, and then gave it a good go against Exeter Raptors, but in the Premiership quarter-finals, just maybe showing their class a little bit.
I think it's maybe showing a little bit of why they were tiered in the elite, and why Cambridge Bees were in the Premiership.
And in comes Simpson once again, and gives it, and it was a nice bit of individual play there from Tom Simpson, bursting through.
He's got a decent step and acceleration for a big man, doesn't he?
He certainly does, and is that almost sort of the perfect combination?
Yeah, because the other thing that we've seen from him as well in early doors was when I still go back to the touchdown which went begging when Lauren Torley dropped the ball, because he's got the ability to then spot the space out wide and then have the pass to get it out there.
Well, here they come, Cambridge. John Lovell looking to go out wide, just couldn't meet it.
What we'll see going on in the day is the importance of having wingers who can catch passes like that. So you see, with one of the things that makes BBR and Wigan so good is they've got wingers who are used to catching 25, 30 metre fizzing passes at pace on the run and getting the ball down really quickly. It is a very, very underrated and important skill in touch, and that would have been, see, in that situation, if that ball's caught, because it was there to be caught, if it's caught, then Cambridge have got a sniff of getting back into this. But 5 down, 10 minutes to play, you're going to have to say it's going to be I think it's going to be a Vikings win, I think, unless I'm going to call it now, even 10 minutes out.
Well, there's the prediction. Do you agree? As Cambridge look to try and close the gap. Here's Benson diving for the line.
Nothing wrong with that in terms of going for it early. You know, you can see the Vikings defenders maybe a bit flat-footed, so why not tap and go? So what he's done there again, as we said before, is that he's stepped back to give himself a bit of space to accelerate into. What's been good is to not see the Vikings defenders bite in too much. What they have to do now is they have to move forward. They must keep on moving forward and not retreat early. So now's the point where Cambridge, 7 metres out, giving themselves some space. And then that's really, really good covering defence from Lauren Torley. So she's spotted that it's out. She knows that the middles have got the ability to get that. And so she's just hung out by a couple of metres and made the touch out wide. And that's just excellent defence there from Vikings all round.
Yeah, it certainly is. They've been under pressure for the last minute or so and they've kept them out. And now they have their own chance to build from the back. Brennan now as he crosses the 10 metre. Kai Andrew coming off and onto the pitch. Here's Simpson. He's shown his class in this game. Andrew, who's been involved heavily as well. Simpson again. Opts to go right. Oh, nearly. It was Becky Anderson running on. And it would have been a good take if she'd managed to cling on.
Yeah, it just died on her a little bit, that pass there. But again, we're seeing Simpson, his ability to cut a line and then to execute the pass, going out to the right areas, even if, as I say, even if that one did die a little bit. So this is the thing which now is going to play into Vikings' hands, if anything, because the clock doesn't stop. You know, when the hooter goes, that's game over. So there's going to be no injury stoppage time for this to happen. You know, you don't want to see anybody injured, but as far as taking those crucial minutes off the clock for Vikings to maintain their lead.
And clearly in some bit of discomfort. And just waiting to see whether she'll be able to get back to her feet.
Yep.
Like you said, obviously the clock is ticking as well.
We do have medical teams here at all of our National Touch Series events. It's about 100 metres from where they are at the minute to where the medical team is. So somebody from the medical team will be over to see her shortly.
Of course, this is day 2, so they had a full day yesterday. All teams playing 3 games. Could that potentially could catch up on some of the players today?
Yeah, it's the first 2-day tournament of the year. And so some of these players may have played in the Development National Touch Series over the past few weeks. What we've done this year, what England Touch has done this year, which is different to last year, is that we've put the mixed development and the single gender development is we've taken 3 of those weekends into 3 of those tournaments to make them weekends essentially. I mean, they're 20-minute games as opposed to 40, but it still gives you that experience of playing in a weekends with the tournaments. But even so, not all of these players would have done that. The people who went to the World Cup were there, and the people who went to the World Cup have obviously played in these and are used to them, but for everybody else, you may be a bit of lactic building up, and the stretching and the rolling and the recovery after the first round of games today is going to be even more important.
Missing picks it up through the middle, looking to go out wide. No one there. As 5 minutes to go. So the Vikings, under 5 minutes to go, look to have this Premiership quarter-final wrapped up. But can they add even more? Kai Andrews going forward, but loses the possession, and it's a turnover. And Cambridge now, this is the time where they really need to be forcing the initiative and getting back into this. Going through the middle, Oliver Exton. It's picked up, looking to push forward. Exton again. John Lovell being involved for Cambridge throughout the game. Oh, and it was actually Lauren Torley who did well again, just almost to put them off.
Yeah, that was a little bit of it was good attacking through the middle. I was talking earlier on about how the attacker can force the defenders into deviating. Is that he took 3 steps and then took a step off to the right. What he then didn't do was to really arc out to the right corner, and likewise is that you then saw the Cambridge link and the Cambridge winger compress themselves in together. So that all of a sudden is that the best thing to have done in that situation was for the Cambridge link to have stepped in a little bit and to provide him with a couple of options. In the end, he only had one, and then it was easier for the Vikings team to defend.
Tenbrook involved, looking for an option. Oh, just couldn't cling on. It was Matthew Halligan bursting in to try and take it.
There's going to be absolutely nothing complicated coming from Cambridge now. They're just going to run hard, run straight, get the ball into the Vikings. So second touch, almost up to halfway. Really, really good start to this attack. They have to, 2:45 to play, 5 touchdowns to do. It's a massive ask, and I think now an impossible one, unfortunately. So Vikings do deserve this win, though.
Yeah, they certainly have been impressive after falling behind in the opening stages in the first half, and they've turned it around and put in a really clinical performance and looked fluid and had good intensity to their attacks. But also the game management has been really good. Lauren Torley in the middle now is Simpson, who's been impressive. Lauren Torley, still full of energy, bursting through. Kai Andrew just slowing things down. Simpson just bringing everyone forward with him.
They brought Lauren Torley into the link here, which is quite interesting. So having defended on the wing, she's to come in and to provide an extra option, as you say. She's probably got fresher legs, and that's a cardinal error there from Cambridge. But it's just giving them a little bit more option in terms of pace and understanding of what's about to come.
Well, here's Simpson now. Kai Andrew back to Simpson. Minute and a half to go. A few little jumps and hop skips from Simpson, just slowing down the clock. Kai Andrew just creeping forward, and Simpson again looks to go wide, and that's a really good pass and a good take actually from high.
Yeah, so missing there is the Cambridge link, and what he's done is he's stayed tight to the middle who's inside him. If he'd have maybe worked a little bit harder to go out, because that could have gone if that had gone to the Vikings link, that would have been a try as well, because there was enough space for them to play with. But like I said earlier on, is that if a team, I'm being harsh there, because like I said earlier on, is that if a team beats you by going over the top, then you kind of hold your hands up and go, well, that's really good skill for them.
And here they come again. Cambridge, with only a couple of seconds left, the game's gone, but can they just add another one to the scoreboard, going out wide, and it's dropped again. And surely we're only a couple of seconds away from that hooter. Still, Vikings trying to come forward, and there is full time in our opening game of day 2 in the Premiership quarter-final. And it's a win for Thames Valley Vikings over Cambridge Bees by 10 points to 4. A clinical display after going a point down in the opening couple of moments, and they've done really well to get over the line and win that quarter-final. So next up, we move on to the elites, and this is a quarter-final. Bareback Riders against Oxford is coming up for you next.
4 years ago, it's very different because we didn't exist, and there's a fantastic video which I'll have to get to of one of our early training sessions. And if you imagine a bunch of doddery old men carrying a ball around, looking and deciding that they don't really know what to do, that was our training session. But to come together and play like that is something that is unique for almost everybody in the squad. We haven't played touch, most of us, in our youth, so this is the first time we've got this amazing energy that comes from being a squad of 16. Yeah, and even if you're the guy doing the camera work, that's an important part of the campaign, although obviously everyone wants to play. So to me, it's just amazing, not just how we've come technically, but how it feels to be a group of 16 people united, wanting to play the game plan, wanting to win, but wanting to win by playing our game as a team.
We have overcome. We have overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of the Lord. We have overcome.
Congratulations on that goal, awesome game. Yeah, we were trying to pull off that 2-minute miracle through this time, but really enjoyed the World Cup, really enjoyed playing you guys. Big congratulations, you're playing some great touch out there. To my team, awesome week playing with you boys. I thought we were a better team. The coaches, great work, especially all the effort you guys have put in.
The break actually. I mean, the Cook Island team were off singing, and it was one of the best, most sort of uplifting bits of it all. You get to the end of the tournament, and you just need to win it by one. The girls were in total control. We were sort of the fitter, stronger team. Singapore were superb. They played much stronger, faster than we did previously. So they gave us a really good run for money. But I think we always knew we were confident inside. I think for me, it's been about 3.5 years of coaching with the squad in total. But this time round, it's about a dozen weekends and God knows how many hours of paperwork, video work for me, and thousands of hours in the gym for the girls. They've just been superb, unbelievable.
So welcome back to Banbury. This is day 2 of the Belief Elite National Touch Series. round number 1. Already had one game this morning, Premiership quarter-final between Thames Valley Vikings and Cambridge Bees, and we move on to our second game of the day, Elite quarter-final between Bareback Riders and Oxford. And I'm delighted to say for this game this morning we're joined by John Weston Stanley, the Men's Open assistant coach and Thames Valley Vikings coach. John, welcome to the commentary box and a good start to the morning.
Thank you very much. Yeah, good to be here. It was a good start. Yeah, making up for some a slightly rougher start yesterday.
And of course, it was actually Cambridge got off to obviously a good start, and he must have obviously just sort of working out how to sort of make sure they get back into the game. He must be delighted how they responded.
Yeah, precisely. In the second half, we were down on numbers, so conserving energy was very important for us. But I think the team found a second win in the second half, and we just drove over the top of them, really.
Well, Bareback Riders off to the perfect start inside a minute. A lot predicting that Bareback Riders could obviously go all the way in the Elite Cup, the reigning champions, of course. And Oxford looking to respond straight away, looking to go through the centre.
Yeah, nice little sweeper step back play there.
And it was Jules Risser, number 17 for Oxford, replying straight away. Oh no, I should say the number 47. And that is Andrew Hammond for Oxford touch. I think I could do with my coffee this morning. So just talking obviously off air, John, about the experiences in Malaysia, just as obviously the assistant coach unfortunately couldn't play in the World Cup. How was the experience of being a coach out there?
It was great fun. Obviously a little painful at times watching your teammates play without you, but I can honestly say that they wouldn't have done a better job of me on the field. They did themselves proud. Watching those guys, tear it up against Japan was fantastic to watch. And being assistant coach alongside Tim Osborne, Jeff Bimson was a great experience as well.
I'm guessing you must have learnt so much off those guys when you were out there, and is that sort of made you think into the future maybe a tad, where you think I could go into that coaching side of things?
Oh, it's funny you say that. I have actually taken up the England under-18s head coach role.
Oh, nice, okay.
I've been in that role for about 3 months now, and I'll be with those guys for the rest of their campaign up till JTC in August.
Brilliant, well that sounds fantastic. Well, very good luck to the under-18. So here come Oxford over the 10-metre mark, looking to respond. They've done really well to get back into this. Good flow and good energy to their game. Looking to go through the middle, and this time it is Jules Risser. And now with the number 10, the white cap on, Joseph Hartley breaking through the middle, and this is superb play. Amro Karim.
So luckily not to get through there. Some fantastic momentum off the back of that driving set.
Oxford starting really brightly as Bareback Riders will be thinking, how's this happened? So the Bareback Riders, obviously one of the favourites going into the Elite Cup. Have you had the chance to watch? Obviously, you've been focusing on the Vikings through yesterday. Did you have the chance to watch any of the other sides? Of course, obviously the opposition Vikings played, but any sides really take your eye yesterday?
Mostly, I was just watching, as you said, our opposition, watching the guys we're playing next, trying to analyse their defensive policies and what they're running in line attack. I haven't managed to stick around and watch too much of the more elite teams at the moment, but hopefully I will do this afternoon.
Yeah, as the tournament progresses into, of course, we're into the knockout stages today after a long and gruelling day yesterday. How are the guys feeling after yesterday's events? Obviously played 3 games and weather that sort of fluctuated throughout the day, but at times it was actually very warm.
It was, yeah. I mean, the guys are pretty upbeat. We've got a very new team this series, so there's always going to be a steep learning curve, and it's just about integrating those guys in the teams, upskilling them as quickly as possible, so we can start knocking some of these other teams off.
And Kai Andrew, who we were watching yesterday, of course, this morning, a bit of youngster in the side, but looks really good. He looks really, it almost feels like he's been playing for quite a few years and seems really calm and composed on the ball.
He is, yeah. I mean, he's a fantastic rugby player. So it's now just a case of trying to transfer him over, knock out a few of those bad habits. But once he gets the hang of it and wraps his head around the game, he will be a great player.
Yeah, he certainly looked very good this morning as Oxford looking to respond once again. I think the Bareback Riders will be thinking, this is not how it's the script is meant to go, as the Oxford look to burst through looking for a man. And there we go. And an instant response from Oxford, but not on this occasion.
Some good pressure from Oxford here.
Riders looking to build from the back. Gareth Revel, Wales mixed open. Player lots of experience in this Bareback Riders side. Charlie Brett, Lewis Burns of Scotland. I'm sure they'll be looking to do the damage this morning, although Oxford started this game with a spring in their step, and they were in Pool D yesterday alongside Cambridge Hornets and Chester Cheetahs. And looking to head towards the touchline. A nice nimble footwork, although just a touch before. And we were saying throughout yesterday, it is almost just a game of honesty in a sense, isn't it, when a player is touched and you referees sometimes can't see all the touches. And I think that's one of the good things about the game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also a very inclusive game. Obviously, we're watching two mixed teams out here today, and varied skill across the board. And we have DTS series and watching our elite series here, so everyone can get involved.
Yeah, certainly. If you're watching today and fancy getting involved, there's plenty of clubs around the country that would love to have you and showcase your skills, and a bit of space opening up and a lot of time and space, and that was a nice move from the Riders, opening it up on the wing, and the Riders just opening up that Oxford defence this time around.
Yeah, winger just got caught napping there. Watched the ball sail over her head. Should have been chasing out. Better shape. I'm sure she'll fix that for next time.
And Oxford look to come again. Started brightly. Mistake early on. Is that just a lack of concentration, maybe?
Yeah, just slightly flustered start there. They probably hadn't got their tap-off move organised within that attacking pod. But here we see Bareback Riders coming back with a little bit more pace than we've seen previously.
They're certainly trying to get a bit more flow to their game. Clark Hobson in the thick of things. Gareth Revel as well, red cap on. Wales mixed open. International.
See a doggies play coming here.
Mimshek back into Revel. And that's a well-worked try. And another point on the scoreboard, and really showing their class now.
Yeah, slightly unfortunate for Oxford there. The link just flew up out of the defensive line and, just got caught out. If he had been slightly more patient, they probably could have D'd that out.
So after a bright start, the Riders have certainly put Oxford to the sword in the opening 8.5 minutes. But it's not disheartened, this Oxford side, still looking to come forward.
See a sweeper play coming here. Has he got in? He has.
It was Andrew Hammond finishing it off. Once again, just coming through the right-hand side, built up that acceleration through. And Hammond has reduced the gap to 2.
Yeah, touching middle, pulled a big corner there, made his saving middle's job very difficult. And unfortunately managed to get through that 33 channel.
I'm just interested to get your views, obviously, as you've been learning as a coach. How do you think the game has developed? Maybe in the last 3 or 6 months that you've been starting to become a coach. How do you feel the England touch and touch rugby in general? How's it developed? How do you feel it's gone in the last couple of months?
I mean, we've come on leaps and bounds. If you taking Japan as just an example, really, the first time we played them, we lost 10-2. in our State Cup tour 2 years ago. The second time we played them, we lost 7-4, and now we drew with them 2-2 this year. So we're heading on an upward trajectory, and hopefully we'll be knocking them off very, very soon.
Yeah, certainly, that's the aim we've been hearing throughout the day yesterday. Really, was to really start challenging them, and that obviously, in the recent times, that's been happening, and I'm sure, hopefully in the future, that could be a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. That's certainly going to be the goal heading into the next international campaign. But in terms of other trends in the sport, that it's only getting faster and faster. The international teams are getting younger and younger. I mean, our average age has dropped from probably, I don't know, late 20s down to very early 20s, 21, 22. And with that, the team just gets more and more rapid. Fitness goes up through the roof. The average fitness level of our men's open team is incredibly high right now. And that in turn drives competitiveness. More people want to get involved in the sport, and it makes holding your place or getting a place even more difficult.
Yeah, you talk about the fitness levels there. We were discussing a number of players, Ben Meakin for one, Jordan Malling as well, both from Wigan. They were saying that the fitness levels, the way they've had to train their body has just been absolutely incredible. The actual shifts they've had to put in to really sort of train their body up, and the fitness levels has been actually quite incredible.
Yeah, absolutely, and particularly in the conditions in Malaysia. Whatever test you do in the UK here, it's twice as difficult over there in the heat and the humidity. And after you've played 3-4 days of touch, it really just puts a toll on your body, but also on your mind. You've physically got to be and mentally tough to keep on pushing.
Well, Oxford getting another one back, and it was Amro Karim pushing through, and now the deficit's only one. And I'm thinking, from a rider's perspective, this is a lot closer than they would have thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Heading into this game, they probably would have thought they'd roll over Oxford. Certainly that was the prediction I would have given. But we see them opening up a little bit. Clark Hobson getting into routine. Lovely long ball out to the winger who finishes it nicely. Yeah,
fantastic move. And the Bareback Riders restoring their 2-point advantage once again. And it was that long pass out to the wing. And a really good take, actually. We've seen a couple of fumbles in the games yesterday and this morning, but it's so important when you have those wingers who can take the ball nicely and bring it down and get those points. It's such a crucial part of the game, isn't it?
It is, yeah, absolutely. And obviously some of the male middles, particularly some of the men's open players, will really rip those balls pretty hard at them. So taking them on the run-up full pelt can be very difficult.
Yeah, certainly Oxford looking to come once again. Luke Milsom involved with Jules Risser.
That's good defensive shape from BBR there.
The 12.5 minutes gone. The Riders leading by 5 points to 3. And it's again, there's actually twist and turn slightly throughout this opening 12 minutes.
BBR still struggling to get off their line with any form of momentum, though. It's interesting to see, considering their threats in line attack and the experience in their side. You'd like to see them drive with a little bit more intensity.
Oh, a lovely couple of passes there. Clark Hobson involved in the middle, although turnover in possession. Over halfway, now over the 10 metre. Looking to come forward, looking with Jules Risser. Now with the number 51, Catherine Thorpe. He lays it off, she lays it off, I should say. Now with Katrina Rollison. And the white cap.
It's Joe Hartley on the ball. We know he's got a good left foot step. He's probably going to pick up from half here. He does. And he's clean through. Can he find someone? Unfortunately, the winger just drops the ball this time, but Joe Hartley looking threatening there.
Yeah, he certainly is, and that sort of turn of pace was quite frightening. And just talking about a couple of players, obviously, in this Oxford side, Jolene Hughes and Amro Karim, both internationals. Hughes in the women's 35s and Karim in the men's 35s. So a bit of experience in this Oxford side to go along with the rest of the team. Hartley.
Nice little 32 short there, but defensive link for BBR snuffed that out. Let's see what Oxford can do on this next set.
Yeah, an important set now for Oxford if they can just keep on reducing that deficit, putting the Riders in trouble, although not on this occasion.
Yeah, still a little disorganised in the BBR camp coming off their line. It'll be interesting to see if they have a chat about that at half-time and rectify that and try for a little bit more intensity.
Yeah, it seems to be sort of a little bit of disorganisation in the riders' ranks as the flow isn't just quite right. Ryan Mimshik, he was in the commentary box with us yesterday. He said it was good to be back involved. Hobson again.
Yeah, same play as last time, just 32 pick-up, ripped to the short side wing. Really nice from Hobson.
Yeah, it's happened a couple of times in this first half, and Oxford just sort of seem to get sucked in, don't they, in the middle, leaving that space out wide. And once again, another point's added to the scoreboard, and as we enter the final 5 minutes of this first half, and we've talked to players yesterday saying how important that period is just before half time and after, where you can just start to maybe potentially rack up the points, and if you get into an increased lead at the interval, the confidence going into the second half must be huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously for the fitter teams, that last 4 minutes of a first and second half, that's where you really want to break through. We know at an international level, most teams across the board are relatively similar fitness levels. We always pride ourselves on being the fittest. So the first 15 minutes of a game, you can go 0-0, 1-1, 2-2. It can be very, very tight. It's in those last few minutes that you really want to open up and start tearing the guys apart in the midfield.
Has there been sort of in terms of not a huge momentum shift, but has there been more focus? I know we briefly talked about it earlier, but has there been a massive change in the way we think about the fitness side of things, and not just the skill and the actual overall gameplay?
I don't think we value it any more than we have done previously, but our strength and conditioning programs have come on a long way. So I don't know whether the staff behind the programs, but the manner in which they're delivered and the information given to the players has come on an awful long way.
And here come Oxford building from the back. 3 minutes to go until the half-time interval, making up the yards. Certainly trying to get a bit of flow and intensity back into their game, looking to drive forward. Milson, and they go through, and Oxford get one back just before the half-time break.
Yeah, just slightly lazy defence there. Link shutting infields. There was no need for that. I think his middle had that covered. If he'd stuck to defensive policy, I think they could have deed that set out.
It was George Carew-Jones, 60 on his back, getting over the try line. And as you said earlier, John, this is, I think, for the Riders, it's a closer game than they would have expected.
It is, but they've got 3 attacking threats on the field now. It'll be interesting to see if Ryan gets in off the back of that doggies. He doesn't, but Hobson does. Very nice little step back, and Amra Kim will be feeling slightly silly on that one.
Yeah, Clark Hobson, just a lovely bit of individual play there. Sold him one, didn't he, there, and just weaved his way through. Yeah, and I think quite right. I think Grim will be just slightly disappointed he's been sold there. So 3 points advantage restored. Just over a minute and a half to go until the interval. Can Oxford reply straight away? Can they reduce that to 2 before the half-time break? Looking to go through the middle once again.
Yeah, just slightly poor awareness positionally from Oxford there. You should never take a roll ball within the 5 there. He's 2 metres off line. You're always going to get caught at half.
So there's Ryan Mimshek going through the centre, quick pass off, bursting towards halfway. Gareth Revel coming off and now handing it over duties to Mark Knight, who's involved. Oh, this is good build-up play. Can they finish the job off? Out wide, and that's quite simply a brilliant brilliant try. We just wait for the referee's confirmation, and that was a superb piece of build-up play.
Yeah, lovely 32 pick up into a passive line, and the link was able to get the ball away to the winger who's in acres of space. Really nice attacking play from BBR.
Miriam Evans getting on the score sheet just before the half-time break, and so that 4-point gap has extended. And there is the half-time hooter. Of course, always have one more phase of play at the hooter, but we have brought the game to a close at the half-time break, and it is the Bareback Riders who lead by 8 points to 4. It's been a tighter game than they'd have expected, but they'll be certainly happy with the work done in the couple last minutes, and they lead by 8 points to 4 at the break.
A roll ball is the equivalent of a ruck in rugby union or a roll ball in rugby league. What we're looking for is a clear plant of the ball, no rolling of the ball physically despite it being called a roll ball, and we're looking for the clean ball for the half to come in and either scoop or pass the ball off the deck. So a roll ball is done by putting one part of the body over the ball. So there's 2 ways you can make a roll ball. You can either plant the ball and run through, as in over the top of the ball, or you can plant the ball and swing your foot around the front of it, which is called a quickie, to step to one side or the other faster than having to step all the way over the ball. So the roll ball has to be done where you are touched or initiate the touch. It also has to be placed between the legs, not to one side or the other, so that the ref can clearly see that you've either stepped over the ball or you've swung your foot around the front of it. In the roll ball, the hips of the person putting the ball down have to be square. By that they mean they have to be parallel to the pitch, not facing one side or the other.
So here we go for the second half here in Banbury for the Belief Elite National Touch Series, our second game of the day. Elite quarter-final. And the Bareback Riders leading by 8 points to 4. Oxford have put in a strong showing, as people were predicting the Riders would win comprehensively, although we still have 20 minutes to go, of course. But Oxford trying to start the second half brightly and trying to maybe put a point on the board as look to break towards the try line.
Yeah, very clever play there. Nice little 21 short, picking on the female link who just got caught napping and burnt for pace. Although not given, interestingly.
Yeah, referee obviously clearly seeing something, and the Riders looking to build from the back once again. Ryan Mimshik in the thick of things once again.
Yeah, it's better momentum coming off their line from BBR. Let's see if they can hold that into their transition.
Lewis Burns, part of the Scottish duo in the side and on the pitch at the moment with Charlie Brett. Here comes Lewis Burns. Mark Knight couldn't just get the pass off, and a turnover in possession. Lots of experience in this Riders side. 5 international players in total involved. Amro Karim.
It's unfortunate. These guys had some good momentum coming in off the halves. Unfortunately, they got taken back to the mark there. Let's see if they can regain it and set up some attacking plays. Looks like they're heading for another 21 short, but Joe offloads the ball to no one, unfortunately.
Yeah, just he looked to his right. I think he passed it almost before he looked, and there was no one there running in. Joseph Hartley, he looked busy in the first half for Oxford, looking to try and create all the attacks. Here's Lewis Burns once again.
Yeah, this is much better from BBR, up onto the 10 metre in 2 touches. Let's see if they maintain that attack into transition again.
Yeah, certainly looking a lot more lively from the back, aren't they? As Charlie Brett looks to come forward.
Yeah, great yards from Charlie there, some nice footwork.
Gareth Revel. And now Mark Knight back to Revel. This is good build-up, a patient pass, and in goes Amy Sutton.
Yeah, nice 32 long there from Clark Hobson out to Revel, and caught the open side defensive line napping. Yeah, good play.
Just that experience, it looks like, from Gareth Revel, just waiting to find the right pass, and Amy Sutton finishes the job off, and the first point of this second half goes the way of the Riders. Oxford having to force the initiative now, looking to try and get some points on the board. Looking to go through the centre.
It's a nice sweeper against the grain play there, but Clark Hobson's, being the experienced defensive player that he is, read that coming a mile off and took the interception.
He actually got a try yesterday, which Ben Meakin couldn't really quite believe. Clark Hobson apparently not favoured for his try-scoring exploits, but here comes.
Well, I don't know, that's a little harsh. I'll back Clark. He's got a lovely little dive on him.
It was actually a really nice. It was almost a somersault try yesterday for Hobson.
He does love a little bit of diving showboating, but no, he's definitely a scoring threat, and being a general and one of the more strategic heads on the field. You don't see him playmaking quite as much as some of the other boys, but he's definitely a threat in line attack. You don't want to underestimate him.
Well, here come Oxford bursting through. Luke Milson involved with Carew Jones. Milson laying it off to Arissa, slowing things down a bit.
So I quite like that from Gareth Revel there, just disrupting the ruck a little bit, throwing Oxford off their game, slowing down their momentum. Let's see if they can get back in the swing of things with this new set.
Yeah, certainly just taking their time. Milson in the middle of that 3. with Carew Jones. Now here's Milson picking up nicely and bursting towards the goal line.
Yeah, we saw that play not too long ago. Unfortunately, it didn't work for them yet again, but they might want to keep ringing the till. That's looking threatening. Yeah, good solid touch there. Gareth Rebel complaining a little bit, but it was in front. It may have been a little hard, but you gotta ride that touch.
Over the halfway line, and here come Charlie Brett, Lewis Burns, and now with Mark Knight. Back with Brett. Knight again, picking up nicely. Good touch. Number 17, Jules Risser.
Yeah, lovely driving set from BBR there. Some speed in the game that we haven't seen from them thus far. Obviously, the younger boys injecting a bit of pace. Unfortunately, we couldn't finish that set off with a score, but they left it down the other end, making Oxford needing to drive length of field.
Yes, Bareback Riders just coming out in the second half with a bit more speed to their game and almost just clearing their minds at half time and starting again. And here comes Knight once again. Here's Lewis Burns just slowing things down. There's his Scottish teammates Charlie Brett in the thick of things.
Oh, it's a lovely 33 counties trail there. Really nice play from those two youngsters in the middle.
Yeah, and Charlie Brett with the white cap on, finishing the job off. Just edging towards 27 minutes, and the Riders now in a commanding position. 6-point gap over Oxford, and looking ever more likely to go through to the elite semi-finals.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they rein back the intensity here a little bit. Obviously, that was one thing I was looking for them to increase at halftime, but with such a commanding lead, you'd probably think that they'd start to rest some of their more experienced players so that they're fresh for the finals.
Is this where just sort of game management comes in? I'm sure you've obviously been picking that up as a coach, and when did that mindset of just sort of conserving energy and thinking and almost planning ahead as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Conserving energy is one of the more obvious ones. Managing injuries is another. But even in terms of upskilling players, this is now you've got a game, you're 4-6 points ahead. It's a fantastic opportunity for you to give your less experienced players some more game time and a run against a relatively experienced team.
There's Sutton going down the wing now in the centre now of Gareth Revel. Stummy over the halfway line.
Yeah, clumsy roll ball there from Revel. He knows better than that.
Yeah, certainly one of the more experienced players on the pitch at the moment. Over the halfway line we go. Oxford's number 19 are now picked up. But a turnover in possession, and those are the chances that are once again being missed by Oxford, and they can't be losing out any more of them as Gareth Revel looks to come forward. And Mimshek. Clark Hobson. Now with Mimshek once again. Gareth Revel. He gets it back. And that long pass out to the wide, and a good piece of play.
Yeah, lovely against the grain doggies there. I mean, they probably could have scored short side or open side there. I mean, you fed Clark Hobson there. The female link was on her ass. She was going to get burnt all day. But Revel with a lovely pass out on the open side scores in the right-hand corner.
Yeah, Zoe Eaton coming in on the right-hand wing, and now as we're approaching the final 10 minutes, it's the Riders who are in a commanding position and surely on their way to the semi-finals. Karim with Hartley looking to break forwards, although just a loose pass, and Grenfell Jones just couldn't pick it up.
Yeah, Oxford staying with those 21 short plays. Again, they are looking threatening. I think they ran that one a little bit too close to the touchline, giving Joe Hartley very little room to work with his footwork.
Here is that man, Joseph Hartley, once again. Jules Risser into Karim. And solid defence thus far for the Riders.
I think there might have been some back chat to the ref here. One of their younger male players has been forced subbed.
So here come Oxford. They've had a lot of possession in the last minute or so, but don't do much with it, and looking to head towards the try line. Oh, and a miscommunication, and the turnover in possession back to the Riders.
Yeah, you can see BBR starting to catch on to their 21 short players. Clark Hobson there getting very, very early pre-touch and covering under that female link. They were never going to score there, even if the pass had gone to hands.
Charlie Brett's involved, Zoe Eaton on the board only a couple of minutes ago. Ryan Mimchek now with Gareth Revel looking to go forward, and in they come, and it was good play from Gareth Revel, and Clark Hobson was there to finish the job off, and that's another point added to the scoreboard, and Hobson proving a couple of his critics wrong from yesterday and getting a point for himself.
Yeah, lovely 32 long step back there from Revel, and yeah, don't let him elude you. He's a very elusive player actually, and you see Clark Hobson finishing that one off nicely.
So approaching 32 minutes, and the Riders well on their way towards the semi-finals. For Oxford, this is almost just trying to build up a bit more confidence. It was always going to be a tough game, and it was actually a very close game up until about the 35th minute. In these situations, John, what obviously clearly it's going to be very tough. It'll be almost one of the great comebacks if they somehow pull this off. How, if you as a coach, how do you approach these sort of final few minutes, knowing that you more than likely you're going to be losing the game?
I think you just got to stick to your processes. You don't change your game plan. You don't throw anything new at your players. You stick with what they're good at, what they know. You focus on finishing absolutely everything in execution. Unlike BBR seem to be doing right now. Let's see if they can get some momentum back into their driving play.
Yeah, certainly just sort of passing around the back and really slowing the game down.
Yeah, this is probably where some of their experience comes in. Gareth Revel, obviously, they're winding down the clock as much as he can. He knows he's only got 7 minutes left, and playing very intelligently.
Yeah, they certainly don't need to be rushing. 8-point gap, and as you can clearly see, really trying to slow the tempo down, although I'm sure they'll be, of course, looking to try and add more.
That's unfortunate. Yeah, same players last time we saw a doggies against Graham Pickup and rip open side. This one, unfortunately, not going to hands.
Yeah, Pearl Kelly, number 27 for the Riders on the wing on that occasion. Oxford looking to work from deep. Andrew Hammond involved on that occasion, and now head towards the halfway point. Milson. Pick up back with Milson now. Looking to the left. And turnover in possession.
Yeah, again, Oxford making nice yards there, really easy yards in the midfield. BBR just seemed to be rolling a little bit and happy to let Oxford run at them. Maybe that's because Oxford aren't quite getting their head around their attacking game and how to flow from their transition into line attack yet.
Lewis Burns advancing up the field, making up some good yards. Although overturned, and now Oxford in their own half, looking to use possession well.
Yeah, not square hips there. Just need to front up and get in front of the touch.
Certainly just become a bit stop-start in the last couple of minutes, just a bit pace of the game slowing down, and I'm sure that's what the Riders will want, of course. Final 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's very intentional. That's not a happy accident. These guys are killing the clock, saving energy. They know they've got 2 more games to play today.
Looking to go forward, Charlie Brett. And it was the Scottish duo linking up once again.
Yeah, the county step back, nice play. These 2 boys working well together in the middle, and yeah, that saving defensive middle just got caught a little bit too wide.
So Charlie Brett and Lewis Burns both involved in the Scotland Mixed Open setup, and showing their chemistry for the riders this time around. They linked up nicely yesterday in the game we were covering early on in day 1.
Now, slightly fortunate there, BBR defensive link just got caught on the line. Touch was given, but I think I'd probably seen that one go the other way.
So our next bit of action will be in the Championship pool category. Green and Gold taking on Nottingham Mavericks. That's our next game, live from Banbury, although still a couple of minutes left in this elite quarter-final. And the riders are well on their way towards securing a semi-final berth. 3.5 minutes left to play. Just a bit of a mistake at the back. I'm sure they won't mind as much, as they know they will be going through. Although I'm sure as a coach you'd like to obviously see your side all the way through, you know, not switching off and making sure they're clinical and defensively organised all the way through.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said earlier, you focus on your processes, and these guys will have some KPIs that they'll look at after the game. You know, set completions, error rates, things like that. And as they start to creep in towards the latter half of the game, they will definitely want to correct that and have a chat about that after the game.
I'm sure they'll have sterner tests to come in the next couple of rounds, and more importantly, of course, the semi-final coming up next for the bareback riders. Wait and see who they'll be playing in that semi-final, but I'm sure it'll be a close game nonetheless.
Yeah, a bit of disorganisation in the Oxford camp there. The middles are looking to set up a sweep play. Link was slightly unaware of what he should be doing, the line he should be running, and BBR snuffed that one out.
So 2 minutes to go in this elite quarter-final. Can Oxford finish off strong? Can they add a point to the scoreboard? Milson. There's Carew Jones. Milson to his left, and there's the run of Milson, looking to go through. He's blocked off on the right wing. So Carew Jones. Catherine Thorpe.
Yeah, ball knocked down. Let's get another repeat set, see what Oxford can do with it.
I'm sure they'd love to finish off in strong style, adding another point to the scoreboard. Here comes Milson, all the way through, but a touch and we brought back.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You'd love to see them get a try here just for the sake of team morale and going into the next game and the rest of the day.
And they've certainly played really well actually in the last couple of minutes. They've been patient. They're not going to finish with a try, it looks like, as the riders will build from the back once again. Only a matter of seconds to go until we hear that hooter. The 10-metre mark, heading towards halfway.
It's good pressure from Oxford there to kill the BBR momentum. Well, they've got a few players flying up out the line. Let's see if BBR can take advantage.
Oh, look at the pace now, the acceleration. And there is the hooter. And full time in this elite quarter-final, and it's Bareback Riders who advance through to the semi-finals with an emphatic 13-4 victory over Oxford. Well, John, thank you very much for joining us in the commentary box, and we hope your injury, you overcome that, and it all goes well and smooth, and good luck with all your coaching endeavours.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, guys.
Thank you very much. And as we move on to our third game of the day, it'll be a championship pool match, green and gold taking on Nottingham Mavericks. That's coming up next.
I think, to be fair, no team here is going to touch Australia, so you put that one aside. I think Scotland and Wales, quite rightly focus on their mix. They beat us by 1. They were both fair results, great games. We were in the grind, we were just on the wrong side of the ledger. It's a bit of a concern as a coach when you're twice the average age, and you've got a number of teenagers in there. So we've got a 16-year-old, 2 17-year-olds, an 18-year-old. And I think our average age is teenage, so that's a great place to be in for the future of England touch.
I'm pretty happy at the end of the week. The conditions out here are hot, and I think we coped really well. Overall, I think 5th in the world is a pretty good end point for our women's opens. It means we're going in the right direction, doesn't it? We're obviously competing with those teams, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Singapore, and we're getting closer, I think, and it's positive for the future. There's lots of youngsters in the team to take the next step up.
To walk away from a World Cup with 1 loss, 1 draw, and I think 6 wins is definitely something for the team to be very, very proud of. 5th place probably doesn't reflect accurately of where we were in the competition. All the lads off the field and away from the training paddock when we come together have been training really, really, really hard. And that's shown because we've been able to run through and over the top of sides and allow our ball players to get into the game. So the off-the-field work that the boys do, either individually or in small groups, has really come to fruition for us in this tournament.
The team did absolutely fantastically. We had to earn that 4th place. There were some real banana skin games in the middle, and the guys put in some real great performances. Ireland, Scotland, France, South Africa, Chile. They were all close games for us, and we really fought. Unlucky in the semi-final this morning, Australia were the better team, and New Zealand bested us then. But I tell you what, it was worth it just to see the look on their faces. They were tired at the end. There was a lot of respect there for what we did, and I love the team for what we did. It's been brilliant. To be honest, the competition comes from playing against those younger guys who are out there, so we played a lot against the Mixed Open, and big respect for them. They handed it to us on a couple of occasions whilst we were training, but then we had a couple of good games against them as well, so we got some good competition there. But I'd really like to see some of our 18s getting out to Australia. We got the contacts. You can get out there for 6 months to a year, and the amount you learn is unbelievable.
Come on, England!
game. First of all, full credit to the French. Last game of the tournament, and they came through the fitter team. So, first of all, my comment would be full praises to them, the fitness work they've done. It's clear they've done a lot of work from Euros, so congratulations to them. Secondly, to our boys, it's a huge shift. We picked up a couple of injuries in that game, a bit of heat, and a couple of niggles as well. Those things happen in games. We possibly could have managed some things better, but yeah, the boys dug really deep, and full credit to the French.
England, outstanding, have really come along leaps and bounds since the 2015 World Cup. Some teams will be disappointed with the final result, but can hold their heads up high in terms of what we've done as a program, what the coaches and support staff have managed to achieve, and of course what the players have done in the last week has just been awesome.
So welcome back to Banbury. This is the Belief Elite National Touch Series, the opening round. So championship pool match between Green and Gold and Nottingham Mavericks. We saw the Mavericks involved yesterday, looking to get off to the perfect start. So our first look at Green and Gold on the live stream over the 2 days. Theo Oberholzer in the middle for Green and Gold. Men's 45 international. A couple of internationals in the Green and Gold setup. Keith Dunleavy and Simon Whitten. And the Mavericks looking to go through. And the Nottingham Mavericks get off to the perfect start inside the opening couple of minutes and the first try of this championship pool match. So a reminder, the teams involved in the Championship Cup: Nottingham Mavericks, CSSC London, Green and Gold, a Revolution, a new side in the competition, Bournemouth Lions and Barbarians. Green and Gold looking to respond straight away. Just slowing things down once again. Keith Dunleavy looking to start things up on the right hand side, although miss pass and turnover possession to the Mavericks. Mavericks looking to come again towards the halfway line, building up a good passage of play, crossing the halfway line, and good turn of pace, and look at this, marauding forward. And Nottingham Mavericks get another point on the board, and it was a brilliant burst of energy down the right hand side. Take another look at this again. So crossing the 10-metre mark, Green and Gold looking to respond after two early inroads into their defence from Nottingham. 4 minutes in and Mavericks starting brightly. Whitten in the middle of things. Really slowing things down now. Just looking for a route through. Whitten again. Just fumbles as they go through the centre. Whitten and just touched on the line. Oh, and a fumble. With a roll back and turnover possession to Nottingham Mavericks. We explained earlier how the Championship Cup works, so they're all in one group and the top two will face off against each other in the Championship Cup final. And looking to break forward now. Mavericks looking to add another point to the board. They've started really nicely. And going in on the left-hand side. And another point added. It was really nice work. Thomas Pollard. And then out to the wing and a clinical finish. And the Mavericks add a third point to the board. So the two Oberhauser players on the pitch at the moment for green and gold. Theo is from the men's England 45 setup. And here come Mavericks once again. They've started really brightly, looking to go through the middle with their black and just slashes of dark green. And this is really nice. And fantastic build-up once again, and the Mavericks are in once again, and a fourth point added in the opening 7 minutes. And you just see a couple of the green and gold players with their head in hands, and this could be a long 33 minutes. Witten in the middle of things, looking to create some inspiration for his side, and once again it's dropped at the last, and a chance gone for the green and gold, I should say, as the Mavericks this time around coming forward over the halfway line. Nice build-up play, looking really solid, and nice fluidity to their game this morning, the Nottingham Mavericks, in their final Championship pool matches. And in they come once again. And the high five, and that is 5 on the board. The Mavericks in complete control in the opening 8 minutes. Looking really solid. Everything trying to go through Witten. Durham Moran involved. Looking for an opening. Once again, really patient build-up. Willow Frey taking her time. A couple of these players for green and gold coming from CSSC and Wolves, and 2 from Percy Park, making up this green and gold side today. And looking to try and break through. Just need to get a try on the scoreboard, just to get a bit of confidence and belief back into their game. Witten again, just can't cling on. And a turnover in possession for the Mavericks. lively tempo to this attack and space to run into, making up the yards, and just absolutely relentless so far. The Nottingham Mavericks bursting towards the goal line looking for an option, and as easy as that, and 10 minutes gone, and a sixth for the Mavericks. Just looking at it again. Theo Oberholzer and Witten trying to link up. Is this the moment? It certainly is. They've managed to get one back, or have they? The referee changing his mind. Green and gold looked certain that they had managed to get a point on the board. Theo Oberholzer. Mavericks looking to burst forward. Adam Broadman in the centre. Broadman once again looking to burst through, and has been frustrated, and turnover of possession. Nice bit of play here from green and gold. This is our best run at attack we've seen. Maybe another chance to add to the scoreboard. Oh, and a poor pass, and just wasn't there, the runner. So Thomas Pollard. White cap on. And he's just making way. Oh, and the Mavericks just bursting forward. Oh, and what an opportunity. Frustrated with herself on the wing. She couldn't just grab it and bring it down, but still in a commanding position as we edge closer to 15 minutes. So a reminder, still plenty of touch rugby to be played after this. 6 more games on the live stream. And next up we have the Premiership Cup semi-final. Thames Valley Vikings playing Crewe and Natwich. We saw the Thames Valley Vikings in our opening game of the day take on Cambridge Bees. And they looked very impressive, as we had the coach for the Thames Valley Vikings with us, John Weston Stanley. And he said he's optimistic and looking forward to seeing where the Vikings go. So do stay with us. It should be a fascinating semi-final. And then, of course, to round up the day and the weekend, we have those 3 finals for you: the Premiership, Championship, and all culminating in the Elite Cup final at 4:20. And the Mavericks looking to add another one. And not on this occasion. Under 5 minutes to go. The Mavericks still well in control of this. So mind, obviously, in the Championship pool. So we have obviously the Mavericks, CSSC London Threes, Green and Gold Revolution, a new side taking part this weekend. Bournemouth Lions and Barbarians, and the top 2 will play up against each other for the right to call them the Championship Cup winners. Oh, and this is a lovely move, a well executed pattern of play, and Green and Gold had a second to the scoreline. Just look at this, absolutely superb. Finish off by Hester Williams. And a lovely pass and move. And Green and Gold had a second. And thus far, no reply from the Mavericks, although they're still with a commanding position as they look to come again. Look to add a couple potentially before the interval. Just waiting for the referee's confirmation, and there is the 7th on the board for the Nottingham Mavericks. Just what they needed after a couple of minutes of pressure from Green and Gold, and now they have that 5-point advantage back. So yesterday we saw the other Nottingham side in action, the Nottingham Hoods, in the 3rd game of yesterday against Chester Cheetahs, and Nottingham Mavericks standing up so far and playing well. Under 2 minutes to go, and is this another one added? It certainly looks like it. Witten again involved, and it was Jed Oberhoser involved, and gets over the goal line and gets another point on the board for Green and Gold. It's been a good couple of minutes for them. Just added a few points to the scoreboard. So a minute left on the clock. Can the Mavericks restore that 5-point gap? And our first bit of rain over the weekend, only trickling down. That can obviously change conditions. So half time in our 3rd game of the afternoon in the Championship pool, and it is Nottingham Mavericks who lead against Green and Gold at the interval.
three-man drive is an attacking play which we use to gain momentum. The three-man drive includes 3 players, a half, the person who dumps the ball, and the runner. These 3 players will alternate between themselves in order to create each person's role within that three-man drive. So it'll start with a roll ball, the half will then pass the ball off the deck to the first runner. This first runner will then become the person who dumps the ball, initiating the touch on the defender, for then the person who previously dumped the ball to become the half. A 4-man drive is a 3-man drive but with another person. The 4-man drive can also be referred to as arrows, and what we're looking to do is the exact same principle as a 3-man drive, but just to add a secondary option of the runner. So you've got 1 runner on the left, 1 runner on the right, and the half will wrap around whichever way they pass the ball, becoming the runner. The best way to complete a 4-man drive or an arrows platform is to hit one side, i.e. to pass the ball to the left, and then to pass the ball to the right, the second runner, and then the left for the third, and so on. A buddy is a 2-man play which we use to create the momentum for a 3- or 4-man drive. A buddy involves the ball being put down, stepped over, the half will then pass back to that same person, and they will run straight into the 3- or 4-man drive.
Back to the screen. Any questions or comments?
So back underway here at Banbury as the rain is coming down, and I'm delighted to say Mavericks who were winning. Before you had it, didn't you? Yeah, Mavericks were on 7. So, delighted to say I am joined with Ed Budge, the England Women's 35 coach. Ed, how's your weekend been?
Yeah, it's been very good, thanks. Just been repping this weekend, and yeah, it's been nice to get back into the club season after the World Cup. So.
Of course. Were you out in Malaysia yourself?
I was, yes, yeah.
And I've been asking everyone who's been into the commentary box over the weekend. I've heard so many great stories. What are your memories from Malaysia?
Oh, there's too many really to take away. We had a couple of very, very good games as a women's 35s team. I think we only lost 3-1 to New Zealand. Played a really, really hard game against New Zealand on our second day. Had them at 1-1 until about 6 minutes left in the game. Thought we were going to pull off an absolutely outstanding result and really spring an upset. But still, really pleased to have come away with that game with a 3-1. Possibly the best result an England team's ever got against the New Zealand side. We're checking on that. But yeah, so many other memories from the World Cup.
Amazing, and everyone has said, of course, they've brought back so many sort of positive things from the World Cup. Obviously, great success. But one thing a lot of people have said is the heat.
I think that's a pretty obvious factor out there in Malaysia. I was very happy to be coaching.
Yes.
Rather than playing, we had a little sort of coaches and managers pick-up game on the last day, so I got a bit of a 20-30 minute run around, and I thought, my goodness, I'm glad that I wasn't doing this for 4 or 5 days straight. I had a renewed appreciation for all of the fitness and acclimatisation work that I've been asking my team to do for the year leading up to it. But yeah, it was extremely hot.
Yeah, well, actually, you're the first person we've had actually in the commentary box who was coaching out there. What were the things you had to go into? What was the main sort of core things you looked at before you went out to Malaysia?
Before we went out to, I mean, heat-related, conditions-related, or just generally?
Well, yeah, heat-related and the fitness and conditioning, and then obviously just the tactical and overall gameplay.
Yeah. Well, we talked a lot as a sort of England high-performance group amongst all of the head coaches and the other high-performance team about the need for our fitness to improve. Over the last World Cup cycle, over the last 4 years, we targeted that as something that we wanted to improve across the board, regardless of whether we were playing in ridiculously hot conditions or not. So that was something that we spent a lot of time on. We've got the medical staff and the S&C team putting together good programs to develop all of the fitness levels across all of the squads. So we talked about that a lot. That was a big theme, and it really paid off. We were arguably one of the fittest countries out there. I think the heat played a part in the way we were sort of managing our tactics and managing our game plan as well. So we had to put a few things in place for that. I had one of my assistant coaches, Rob Budd, who is a mainstay on the reffing circuit and around England Touch. He was my assistant coach, and his job out there was basically just managing players coming on and off the field and making sure that everyone's fatigue level was being taken into account, and no one was running themselves into the ground while it's heat index 52 out there or whatever it was. Fortunately, play was suspended when it got that hot.
I was about to say, yeah, that's almost unbearable, isn't it? At that temperatures.
Yeah. From a tactical perspective, we as a 35s team, we wanted to go out there with an identity as a team that's difficult to break down and play disciplined in our rucking game. So good, strong defence, strong organisation through the midfield, and it served us pretty well.
Yeah, it certainly did. And as we look out into the action on pitch number 1, it's a championship pool. Green and gold taking on the Nottingham Mavericks, and the Mavericks doing well thus far and doing some really good stuff, and played well in the first half and looking to add to the scoreline once again, trying to burst forward.
Interesting sort of game, this one. I wouldn't want to speculate what the average age of both sides is, but I would say it's probably a good 15-20 years difference. Green and gold have a lot of experienced players, a few players who have played men's 40s, men's 45s for England, and a few regional women's 35s players as well. Whereas Nottingham Mavericks seem to have a lot of their youth program on show today, so it seems to be serving them well. Maybe they've got a little bit of extra pace in the first half so far. Just getting them into this lead.
It must be encouraging, obviously, as a coach, to see young players coming through and building and getting the chance to perform at competitions and seeing how they progress.
Yeah, very much so, and certainly at this tournament, I'm just looking around. I haven't been sort of counting off, but I see a lot of young players, a lot of people from a number of clubs, youth setups. I know at CSSC, my club, we've got a handful of youth players playing in our sides today, some of them for the first time, so that's really encouraging to see, and other clubs I think are following the same lead, with a few experienced players taking a bit of a rest post World Cup. This is a good chance for them to step up and play against some really high level competition.
No, certainly in the elite competition, of course, we see a new side, Exeter Raptors, involved, so it's always encouraging to see new sides building into the competition.
Yeah, and Exeter having come out of a very successful few years in the UTC campaign, I think they've got a really, really strong club down there. Their participation numbers are fantastic. It's a really big club at that university. So that's really encouraging to see, just the volume of people getting into the sport at a young age. It's not just ex-rugby union players whose knees have given out anymore. It's people coming in at university and hopefully in good time in the school system as well. But yeah, really good to see Exeter competing at this level.
Yeah, it certainly is, and they gave a good account of themselves yesterday. They ran Wigan very close in the opening game of actually the weekend. We had on pitch number 1. As the Mavericks are looking to add another one to the scoreboard, just slowing things down, looking through the centre. Just the gameplay of Nottingham just slowing things down, looking for the wings and just couldn't take it. It was a hard take. If they managed to have got it, it would have been a comfortable try.
So looking for that space a little wider out. Green and gold a little bit narrow in their defence, but if the conditions, actually it's starting to dry up, the rain seems to have stopped, but if it's a little bit greasy out there, then you'd rather defend a little bit narrow and force teams to beat you playing those 3-on-2 balls on the outside. So I'm going to assume that was all a tactical masterstroke from Green and Gold, forcing Nottingham to make the low percentage pass in difficult conditions.
Yeah, certainly we just had a short burst of heavy rain which has impacted and made some of the handling quite difficult at times, as we saw a slip from one of the Green and Gold players just a couple of moments ago, handed over possession to the Mavericks. Adam Broadman involved once again. We saw him heavily involved in the build-up in the first half, and here he goes again, looking to go through the centre. Not on this occasion for the Mavericks.
Hopefully Green and Gold will be able to complete a set here and get some territory into the Nottingham half, rather than giving Nottingham another set on the line.
Yeah, certainly we need to see Green and Gold trying to burst through and make up the yards. Let's see what they can do over the halfway line now. The experienced campaigners, a good mix of experience and youth in the Green and Gold side.
Yeah. So Keith Dunleavy will be directing traffic there in the middle, as he always does. I say he's a real fixture at Green and Gold. He's done a lot of work down at the club. I think he might have been responsible for founding it in the first place, but he's certainly a fixture down there, down in London on the touch scene there.
And in they come, and another one added to the scoreline, and just closing this gap. And as the Mavericks did have a 5 points gap going into the half-time interval, and Green and Gold have certainly built this back and just putting a bit of pressure.
I think.
Oh, but the referee.
I think we've got that touchdown disallowed. I can't see quite what for. Possibly that last pass was slightly forward.
I just couldn't quite see why the referee had overturned it, but I think you're right. I think it could have just been for a forward pass. But here come the Mavericks once again. Good energy to their game. Adam Broadman in the centre of things once again, looking to burst forward. And just waiting for an option.
Excellent recovery there from the defensive winger, coming in, seeing the open player in acres of space, and probably coming off her own player and fight. Possibly there's another Mavericks player hiding around somewhere, but either way, she's found the attacking player in the most space, who was the biggest threat, and made sure that she closed down and made the touch.
And here come Green and Gold over the 10-metre mark. So 2 close shaves for both sides. And that 3-point gap still stands going into the final 10 minutes.
So both teams are making reasonably good yards when they're able to complete their sets. They're able to get up and give themselves a chance to strike at the line. I think the midfield defence is a little bit on the passive side for my liking at this point. I'd like to see the defence putting a little bit more pressure and forcing the attack to work a little bit harder to get a strike opportunity.
And here come Mavericks once again. I'm sure they'd love to extend that lead, and they drive through and space now. And just waiting for the referee's confirmation. I think it is, yes.
Yeah, we're all good there.
Yep, and Nottingham Mavericks now extend their lead. 9 minutes to go. As a coach, what would you be saying to Green and Gold? 4 points down, 9 minutes to go. What would your attack be?
Well, it looks like they're coming back into the game strongly compared to the first half. Looks like they've got a couple of good opportunities early on, and maybe it's that extra experience telling, Keith and the others getting into their players in the sub box and telling them just to give a big effort. I think the key for them really is going to be about set completion. It's still going to be a little bit greasy out there, making sure that they get as many opportunities as they can to attack at the scoreline, because I think they've got the players who can hurt Nottingham, so making sure that they get all the way up to the line and make the most of those attacking opportunities, and trying to minimise them for Nottingham. As I said, I think maybe being a little bit more aggressive in their midfield defence, pressing up a little bit higher, forcing Nottingham to run that fifth touch play from 15-20 metres out rather than allowing them to get all the way up to the 5. We'll see how they do on this set. See if Nottingham are able to strike on 5 or if they can hold them out a little bit further.
Yeah, Mavericks looking to build up the yards, heading towards halfway. A good burst through the centre, and look at this for a run. Out of nowhere. And that was, well, on this occasion, a piece of individual brilliance.
Yeah, why strike on 5 when you can strike on 3? Just take it straight up the middle. I said he's isolated a little dog leg in the defence there. I said if you're going to be aggressive in your midfield, you need to make sure that you're aggressive in groups of 2 or 3 or 4, and not just sending up one player, because good athletes and good pool players will be able to exploit one player coming high out of the line, just as we've seen there.
Well, Ed, so we've been asking sort of people throughout the day yesterday, if as someone watching over the weekend and wanting to get involved in touch rugby, what would you say is the best way of doing that?
It depends really where you are regionally, but there's any number of local clubs that are sort of have really good setups for introducing and developing new players around the country. If you live in any of the regions where you can see a team name somewhere on the screen, then obviously those are good clubs to go to. Any of the teams with particularly unusual names are probably from London. Galaxy, CSSC, Green and Gold, Hot Custard, those are all London sides. So if you're in London, those are good people to join up with. If not, then there's O2 touch leagues and inter-touch leagues and other organisations all around the country now, so it should be fairly easy to find somewhere to play, and lots of these leagues and these teams are really, really welcoming to new players. Doesn't matter about your ability level, we all started somewhere, especially in this country. We all started probably not knowing too much about the game, and it's there's nothing to be afraid of. It's a really welcoming sport, and really, really encourages new players to get involved. So find a club, find a local O2 touch league or something like that, and yeah, it should be easy to get involved throughout the summer.
That's something we're trying to promote, obviously, throughout the weekend. Trying to get as many people involved in this absolutely incredible sport. I'm sure everyone at home has enjoyed it as much as we have, and we've still got plenty of fantastic games on offer throughout the day, including the Premiership, Championship and Elite Finals coming up for you this afternoon, which I'm sure will all absolutely be belters.
Oh yes. So hope the rain stays away and we get the best of the conditions.
Absolutely.
If that was some fairly vague advice earlier, if you want something more specific, go to englandtouch.org or whatever the website is. I think that's the one. Chris could probably correct me on that at some point later, but yeah, that should provide you with more information on local places to play and help you to get involved.
Absolutely. As we see the Nottingham Mavericks head towards the halfway line in a commanding position with just 5 minutes to go on the score clock. Of course, don't take it for granted. We are going to the hooter, of course.
So game's never over till it's over. Only takes about 30-35 seconds to get up the field and get a score. So
This would be some comeback if
it would be.
It'd be one of the best comebacks we've seen over the weekend. We've seen some close games, we've seen some big scores. Yet to see a miraculous comeback yet. Could this be the one? A lot of work for green and gold to do.
I would put your money somewhere else, but you never know.
Well, here they come.
Could be one back here.
And looking good and just slowing things down a bit. Oh, and there's the fumble. Could that be that rain we've been talking about?
Yep.
The moisture in the air just causing a few handling errors.
Might see a little bit of clever clock management from Nottingham in the last few minutes here. Want to make sure that the ball doesn't come off the floor too quickly, that the sets aren't started too eagerly. Just slow the game down. So they've got a penalty here. I doubt they'll be in any particular hurry to take it. Just slow the game down.
Yeah, this is just that game management we always talk about. That experience, 6-point gap, don't need to go gun-ho. And just taking their time with it.
That said, once you get down at the scoreline, it's very difficult to resist the temptation to run your favourite strike move and try and get on the board. Little 32 short play there, and there's the short sides.
And in they go, and like you said, I just can't resist that temptation, although not on this occasion.
Touch has been made, and we've come back for the penalty, so Nottingham will get another go.
Well, look at the time and space just to work a pass or work an opening.
Yeah. It's good channel control from the link defender there, not letting them get to the outside or get a touch on the defensive middle. So green and gold are trying to make their touches quickly now. They're trying to get on with it. So I think it might be a lost cause with 2 minutes and 45 seconds to go, but so they'll want to push up nice and high and make these touches.
So will Mavericks looking to find that opening, although collapses on this occasion, and here come green and gold having to start from the back. At this point it's just trying to see how many points you can get on the board if you can at all. Just building up a little bit of confidence.
It's about pride and personal glory at this point. Anyone who has